This is a GIS Evening Report for Wednesday, July 17th, 2024. I am Sharian Noel. In the headlines, Grenada's Disaster Relief Fund now totals $3.9 million. We'll have details to this story and more after the break.
Welcome to the 47th meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of CARICOM, hosted by your new chairman, the Honorable Deacon Mitchell, July 28th to 30th, St. George, Grenada. The Conference of Heads of Government, comprising the leaders of member states, serves as the highest governing body of the Caribbean community. CARICOM is a multilingual community made up of 20 countries, 15 member states and 5 associate members, and is home to approximately 16 million citizens. CARICOM stands on 4 pillars: economic integration, foreign policy coordination, human and social development, and security. It holds ultimate authority for negotiating treaties on behalf of the community and establishing relationships between the community and international organizations and states. The conference oversees the financial arrangements necessary to cover the community's expenses, though it has assigned this responsibility to the Community Council. Typically, decisions within the conference are reached through unanimous agreement. Join us as we begin the countdown for the 47th regular meeting of CARICOM Heads of Government in Spice Island, Grenada, with incoming chairman, the Honorable Deacon Mitchell, and the whole of CARICOM represented. Let's join the conversations and prepare the shifting perspectives on pertinent and pressing issues that affect our Caribbean community.
Welcome back. Grenada's Disaster Relief Fund now stands at $3.9 million. That's according to Minister for Finance, Honorable Dennis Cornwall. The sum includes $200,000 contribution from the Cayman Islands, $100,000 from Belize, and $1 million from the ECCB. We
have decided on the suspension of the rules and targets in the Fiscal Resilience Act. Section 9 of the Act says that the Minister may, by order subject to negative resolution, suspend the public debt target and primary balance rule under Section 8 at any time during the fiscal year where any of the following occur. A major economic shock resulting from. Section 2 says a disaster arising from a natural hazard as declared by the authorized national, regional, and international agency, or the disaster declared pursuant to Section 55 of the Disaster Management Act of 2023. So what does that mean for us? It gives us the flexibility to incur debt for recovery efforts if needed. At present, we have the central government debt to GDP ratio of 60.4%, the public debt to GDP of 75.1%. And when I refer to public debt, it includes central government debt as well as debt from our statutory bodies. Government policy is to prioritize grants and concession debt financing. In other words, we have committed ourselves to borrow monies if need be at concessional terms for the most part at this point in time.
During a press briefing on Wednesday, Honorable Cornwall said his government is also considering providing certain fiscal incentives in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl.
Government has also been considering the fiscal incentives in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl. And so government will implement a fiscal incentive package to support the rebuild and repair of homes and other structures, as well as the reactivation of businesses effective August 1st, 2024. Details will be provided in the last week of July on this measure. We're also going to have a consultation with businessmen and women in CARICOM and Petit Martinique to get their views on matters affecting them in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl. The feedback from this consultation will inform our fiscal incentives. We're also going to look at other incentives in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl, which government will implement as a waiver on all taxes and duties on all relief supplies imported for personal use. And this includes barrel or boxes or crates up to the 31st of December 2024. This boxes, the contents of this box will be items of foodstuff, clothing, and household items. Again, households will be limited to 2 barrels or box or crates per family or household.
Moving along, the Executive Director of the Grenada Authority for the Regulation of Financial Institutions, Dennis Felix, says GAFIN has been engaging the non-banking sector to ensure the smooth and efficient handling of claims and settlements post-Hurricane Beryl. GAFIN is a statutory body that supervises the non-banking financial sector, which includes insurance companies. During a press briefing on Wednesday, Mr. Felix said following the passage of Hurricane Beryl, discussions were held with all insurance companies.
We are happy for this opportunity to share with the listening public efforts that GAFIN, as supervisor of the non-bank financial sector, has been taking to ensure that we have smoothness and order in the administration of claims and claim settlement as we deal with this disaster. So let me first point out that GAFIN is the regulator and the supervisor of the non-bank financial sector. And for this discussion this morning, we focus on insurance companies and intermediaries. And when I refer to intermediaries, I refer to agents and brokers and sales representatives that are registered in accordance with the Insurance Act. Now, following the passage of the Hurricane Beryl on July 1st, GAFIN initially contacted and held discussions with all of the general insurance companies. And just to let you know that when I refer to general insurance companies, we are referring to companies that conduct business with policy owners of real property, vehicles, and marine vessels. So we sought an update on the steps that these companies have taken to ensure that the policyholders, the claims and the concerns will be handled in a thorough, efficient, and speedy manner. The responses we received were quite favorable. That is, the responses we received from the insurance companies. And they informed us of the steps that they have taken to respond, to contact the policyholders, to assist the policyholders in preparing claims, if need be, and laying out clear procedures for claim settlement.
Following that engagement, Mr. Felix says GAFIN then proceeded to publish a notice for the attention of the general public.
In order to give reassurances that all insurance companies operating in Grenada are actively supervised, they are financially sound, they meet statutory solvency requirements, they conform to accepted prudential benchmarks and practices, they maintain sufficient acceptable assets in the insurance funds that are vested in the supervisor as required. Now, this is an important development since we had Hurricane Ivan in 2004, in that we, as supervisor, we ensure that all insurance companies vest with GAFIN as supervisor enough assets, acceptable assets at that, to cover all the liabilities in the event that we have a disaster, that the company can no longer carry its operations. We have assets to cover those liabilities.
He says that one of the key areas discussed with the insurance companies is that of reinsurance, to ensure that they can process the claims that are presented to them.
Based on the updates that we have received since, some companies we are informed, and their representatives, so the representatives from various companies and the adjusters, they are out in the field primarily or especially in the disaster areas that are severely affected, like CARICOM and Petit Martinique and St. Patrick. They are out there meeting with the policy owners, assisting them in preparing necessary claims and carrying out assessments with a view to settling those claims speedily. So I just want to say that at this time, that we have word from some companies that there are instances where payments have already been made to policyholders, and I think that is good. In fact, over the last couple of days, I have had comments from individuals who told me that they are quite happy that, or surprised in some instances, that immediately upon the passage of the hurricane, their respective insurance companies contacted them.
GAFIN, he says, remains committed to providing support to the non-financial banking sector to ensure the execution of claims. We take a break. The GIS Evening Report returns after this. Welcome back. Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell says despite the challenges that confront his team from Hurricane Beryl's damage to buildings and property in the northern parts of Grenada, as well as Carriacou and Petit Martinique, damage assessment will continue. The challenges are exacerbated on the sister islands by limited water supply, as well as housing with no power. But Prime Minister Mitchell said,
do a comprehensive damage assessment. We anticipate this will take place within the next month to two, so that we can then present as accurate as possible to the nation, to the region, and to the wider world the extent of the damage wrought by Hurricane Beryl.
PM Mitchell says while there have been requests for information on the collective sum for the damage sustained, there is a need for residents on the mainland and in the diaspora to exercise patience until a comprehensive assessment is completed.
We want to emphasize that we cannot underestimate the extent of the damage, the extent of the relief, and the extent of the recovery. And I will speak briefly about two sectors so that we appreciate what we are treating with. In the marine and fishing sector, we've had widespread destruction to aqua and culture. Most, if not all, of the sea moss nurseries have been completely destroyed. In the case of CARICOM and Petit Martinique, the mariners have taken a severe battering. You have several boats that are either completely destroyed, significantly damaged, fallen over, turned over. We have several, if not tens, of boats that are stuck in the mangroves, that have been beached, that are significantly damaged. All of this has to be accounted for. All of this has to be removed and repaired, and it has to be paid for. And we have to appreciate that particularly with boats, there is the risk of leaking oil or leaking fuel. And we have to be able to act quickly to be able to ensure that we can protect our already significant degraded marine environment.
Agriculture, particularly in the northern part of the island, received significant damage to all crops, and that Prime Minister Mitchell says need urgent intervention.
Short crops and our more traditional long crops, or nutmegs, or cocoa, bananas, plantains, avocado, you can name them. They've all, mangoes, fruit trees, have suffered significant and extensive damage. It means that the government will have to work with our farmers and our farmers' cooperatives to not just get building materials, but to assist farmers with clearing the lands, clearing the debris, with getting planting material, fertilizers, and starting the process all over again. During that period, our farmers will not have any funds because they have nothing to sell. And so it means the government will have to consider providing income support by the farmers who are impacted. As the Minister of Finance indicated, this is not something we can simply do by the press of a button. It requires us to have a clear understanding of the extent of the destruction, the number of farmers who've been impacted, and to engage with them and their various cooperatives as well to ensure that the fiscal incentives, the support that we'll provide is support that is meaningful, that is tangible, and that will ultimately lead to the rebuilding of our agriculture, or aqua and mariculture, in a most robust and sustainable manner.
PM Mitchell says consultation will be had with affected farmers to chart the best possible solution going forward. Grenada's Minister for Climate Resilience, the Environment and Renewable Energy, Honorable Kirin James, says a team from her ministry has drafted a report on the damage sustained by the Limlair solar PV plant in Carriacou from Hurricane Beryl. The report will be presented to experts who will then visit the island to get an appreciation of the damage before any thought can be given to rebuilding the plant.
it is really heartbroken that we have experienced such a thing. This is just one of the experiences that we have to deal with as small island developing states. You know, we would make the progress, we would try to ensure that we build sustainably and we secure and we do everything that we ought to do to make energy cheaper and to make energy much more accessible and to harness our natural resources. But when you are faced with a hurricane of that magnitude or any other natural disasters, you are set back maybe 5-10 years post where you're at. So we continue to call on the international community to see us and to ensure that whenever we do projects like that it can withstand Category 4, Category 5. Not only that, but we are calling for much more climate financing to ensure that we can get much more projects and that we can build the resilience needed to make it a success.
The Limlair solar PV plant in CARICOM, which was constructed to withstand adverse impacts of the weather, was severely damaged during the passage of Hurricane Beryl on July 1st. The Climate Resilience Minister says on visiting the site at Limlair, she was heartbroken to see the devastation and bearing in mind the amount of work and investment made in the project.
The system was designed to withstand a Category 4 hurricane. As you know, we did get a Category 4, but it was shy of almost being a Category 5, and so all of the systems were damaged. Right now, we are in the process of forming a task force to ensure that we can get the necessary damage assessment done to quantify the damage. We have already reached out to the team that has been working with the installation of the modules and the entire plant to inform them of what had happened.
We take our second break. The news continues after this.
Welcome to the 47th meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of CARICOM, hosted by your new chairman, the Honorable Deacon Mitchell, July 28th to 30th, St. George, Grenada. The Conference of Heads of Government, comprising the leaders of member states, serves as the highest governing body of the Caribbean community. CARICOM is a multilingual community made up of 20 countries, 15 member states and 5 associate members, and is home to approximately 16 million citizens. CARICOM stands on 4 pillars: economic integration, foreign policy coordination, human and social development, and security. It holds ultimate authority for negotiating treaties on behalf of the community and establishing relationships between the community and international organizations and states. The conference oversees the financial arrangements necessary to cover the community's expenses, though it has assigned this responsibility to the Community Council. Typically, decisions within the conference are reached through unanimous agreement. Join us as we begin the countdown for the 47th regular meeting of CARICOM Heads of Government in Spice Island, Grenada, with incoming chairman, the Honorable Deacon Mitchell, and the whole of CARICOM represented. Let's join the conversations and prepare the shifting perspectives on pertinent and pressing issues that affect our Caribbean community.
Welcome back. Distribution Supervisor for Barbados Light and Power, Edward Cummings, says the team from Barbados is skilled for the task ahead and is looking forward to giving the necessary assistance needed to GRENLEC's restoration process. Cummings says while the team is originally scheduled to be on the island for 2 weeks, the present circumstance could mean a longer stint.
To be honest, I may be a little desensitized, having been on several missions before, but there's always that possibility that once this time of year comes around and one of our sister or brothers is in dire need, that we will be called upon. So when I heard the word that you all had been hit, so we were kind of anticipating that either St. Vincent or yourself might need some assistance.
And how many of you?
There are 5 of us.
And how long will you be spending with the GRENLEC team?
Supposedly 2 weeks, but that's generally a situation that unfolds based on the speed at which the restoration takes place.
J. Paul, construction supervisor with DOMLEC, the Dominica Electricity Services, leads a team of 4 who he says are all skilled and experienced in the field, given the work experience after Hurricane Maria.
We have a team of 4, and We have 3 new guys, well, guys that have never been to restoration out of Dominica, because they did restoration in Dominica after Maria. So the skills and whatever and what they have now, trust me, you're going to get a lot coming from them, because they have that experience from what Maria did to us. And watching your nice little island, I think the touring will have us working plenty efficient and well safe too. We need to work safe. Yeah, we have to drive around to see exactly what is really needed. Yes, we have to really move around to see what we have to do. And as of after that, we could really give you an understanding as to what are really going to happen. But for now, we're here to see.
And finally in the news, the Grenada Tourism Authority, together with its stakeholders, have taken swift action to assess the extent of damage to tourism attraction sites and accommodations on the mainland in Carriacou and Petite Martinique. The critical assessment aims to gauge a hurricane's impact and formulate a robust recovery plan to ensure Grenada's tourism sector can rebound. GTA's Chief Operations Officer, Mrs. Curl Hoshialik, updated the GIS on the assessment done thus far and the way forward.
And of course, with relates to the accommodation sector, I mean, between severe and totally destroyed is what has happened. And we've done an impact assessment for the CARICOM and Petite Martinique in conjunction with the Caribbean Tourism, Sustainable Tourism Specialist at the Caribbean Tourism Organization, who's here as part of the SEDIMA team. So she did a deep dive for CARICOM and Petite Martinique with our Product Development Officer in Carriacou, Ms. Rena Mills. And she too, would have lost everything. But, it is just real commitment and love and dedication that makes you want to ensure that what happens after rebuilding, after recovery, and the fact that long term we need to remain resilient and a sustainable tourism destination. So that impact assessment was done. There is a lot of work that needs to be done. But the good thing with the tourism industry is that we tend to really find a way to move over the challenges.
The ravages of Hurricane Beryl on the Sister Isles not only destroyed attraction sites but caused some level of damage to the Hillsborough office. The GTA, she says, is putting plans in motion to have repairs done to the office as soon as possible.
The GTA office in Carriacou did sustain some damage, but we have to thank the Lord that the infrastructure stood up well. We have some damages with the roof, so we're going to look at having that repaired. And of course, our ACs, the window damage, window panes were broken. We also have our water tank. We had some, in our view, minor damage as opposed to the stakeholders that had severe damage or were totally destroyed. But we understand that we need to continue to be that central coordinating arm for tourism in Carriacou and Petite Martinique. And as a result, we will look at repairing the building as swiftly and as quickly as we can, so that we can continue to do the work of bringing back, supporting the Ministry of CARICOM and Petite Martinique Affairs as we look at the socio-economic importance for the country as it relates to the tourism sector.
And with this story, we come to the end of the GIS Eden Report for Wednesday, July 17th, 2024. On behalf of the entire news and production team, I am Sherry Ann Noel, thanking you for viewing.